I regularly feature the Stepping Stone Forest for Schools program here on the channel. But I want to tell you about a little addition to the forests. One that's going to happen very soon. Stepping Stone Ponds. But how it came about and who's involved, I'll let John explain for you.
A very good environmentalist, well-known environmentalist, and he's been a good friend to the Stepping Stone Forest project. Collie Ennis at one stage suggested maybe we could introduce ponds alongside the forests in schools because they're complementary habitats. And I just thought this was a great idea. And then another teacher actually said to me, "Oh yeah, Stepping Stone Ponds." And I said, "Oh yeah, why not Stepping Stone Ponds? We'll call them Stepping Stone Ponds, and it will be a companion project." And we completed our first one yesterday in a school in Blanchardstown. So Stepping Stone Ponds are up and running.
Just one little addition to that. You weren't working with Collie yesterday. Tell me about the guy you were working with.
I call him the Great Gandola. His name is Rob Gandola. He is really a great guy. He seems to know everything about everything, and he works like an absolute workhorse. And he knows what he's doing. I mean, yesterday and the day before, we worked on this pond over 2 days. It was just a real eye opener for me. If I'd known what was involved, I wouldn't have taken on Stepping Stone Ponds. But with his fantastic advice and guiding hand, we got it completed, and I'm very confident now we'll be able to roll these out time and time again. So wouldn't be happening without Rob.
Now folks, you've heard it from the horse's mouth. That was John talking about Rob Gandola, our pond expert. Now, I remember about a year ago when the idea was mooted first that we might do ponds. Rob came along to the Sacred Heart in Killinarden, and he investigated the area with Sharon, the teacher in charge of ponds around there, or rather in charge of the forest that possibly will have a pond. So let's have a look at what he was doing and what he had to say. Now I'm back in the Sacred Heart Senior School in Killinarden, and there's a conversation going on behind me between John Kuibert from Stepping Stone Forests, Sharon Jenkins, who's the teacher looking after the forest here in the school, and Rob Gandola, who's an expert on ponds. And they're talking about the possibility of adding a pond to the Stepping Stone Forests here in the school.
How you doing? I'm Rob Gandola. I'm Pond Officer with An Taisce's Legacy for Life project, and we're here in Sacred Heart today in Killinarden because what we've done a survey of the site to see its suitability for putting in some freshwater ponds. Now, these would be specific for wildlife, so we're looking at low maintenance, high biodiversity value ponds for the school. And what we've been doing as part of our walkover surveys, we've been looking for things like downpipes, discussing ways in which we could harvest the rainwater off the roof of the school because there's so much roof space, and there's so many pipes. It seems to be using, a natural resource that's free and kind of involves very little effort to harvest. We've been looking in the middle courtyard, which has incredible crab apples and apple trees, and there lots of potential there for harvesting the rainwater roof into things like making almost like a portable rain garden where you could actually move it around if some parts of the school are harvesting more rainwater than others. And all of the idea behind a lot of this, particularly in relation to rainwater harvesting, is that it alleviates the pressure on the surface water system. So everywhere around like this part of Tallaght and Dundalkin, a lot of our local streams and rivers are under intense pressure when there's a lot of heavy water, a lot of like really deluge kind of downfalls of rain. So what wildlife ponds and what rain gardens and other like wetlands, many features that you can build and install in school is they kind of hold and store the water, and you got to let it go back naturally into the groundwater over the period of a couple of hours, and all of this alleviates the pressure and the stress on the nearby streams and other water courses. So rivers can naturally flood themselves without having this influence, this influx of thousands and thousands of litres of fresh water from surface runoff from roads, from paths, from tarmacked areas. If everybody does a little bit, it will also, reduce a huge amount of stress in our river systems, which you would think, like if they factor in that everybody's doing a little bit, it will alleviate things like local spot points of flooding, flash flooding further downstream. And this is the beauty of schools and why you get schools involved in the first place, is they do have these huge resources, like lots of roof space. They do have lots of downpipes. They have plenty of green space where you can put in, they don't have to be huge ponds, just a couple of square meters of surface area. They don't have to be deep. Less than a meter is perfectly good for wildlife. They do have this in abundance. The fact that we're right next to the park here, there's plenty of movement of local wildlife population between the school ground and the local park. So it all adds in to the benefit of how Stepstone ponds could actually play a really big role for both wildlife and for alleviating pressure on the surface water system in the area. So ideally, if ponds are like a pond and a rain garden feature were going to be installed in the school, we'd probably do it towards the end of autumn, kind of late October into November, purely because that's when it's far easier to fill these features up. There's no point in creating it and then leaving it sitting there without any water. Again, we'd focus on rainwater harvesting as opposed to using a hose, because fresh water, the drinking water, is full of nitrates. It causes algal blooms, and we want to, use rainwater where possible. So that's kind of the time frame we're looking at. But the fact that it gives us all of September and most of October as well, it allows the students as well, like the kids in the school, to get ownership and some buy-in. So ideally, we'll ask the teachers who are responsible, like Sharon, so her class can come and they can actually design what they'd like to see installed in something like Minecraft, and then make like a mock-up in Lego, and then they can show it to me, and then we can actually then put it into practice while we're building it on site. The kids have buy-in, the school has ownership of it. The smaller kids that will be coming up will know that it's being made by other students. It's not just that a company's being hired to come in and do it. I think it results in a far better feature within the school, and it's almost guaranteed to have legacy because it was put in by the students themselves, and they designed and created it. So they had all involvement from the very initial stages right up to installing the actual feature itself, which is brilliant, and that's exactly what you want a school to be doing.
Rob, that's absolutely fabulous, and thanks very much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed your visit and look forward to seeing you when you come back to install the pond.
Very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Now we're here in the very first forest that was planted in a school, Holborn Community School, and it's coming on quite well. And if you look in the middle here, you can see that the teachers and the children have already put down seating in the classroom area. That looks really good. John and Rob are discussing the possibility of putting a pond in here as well, so we'll see what happens with that. But let's just have a look around. As you can see, the trees are coming on quite well. I can't actually remember when this was planted. I'll check with John now in a second. And you can see Tallaght Stadium, one of the stands in the background there. That's the east stand. John, just for a second, I can't remember, when was this forest actually planted?
On the 11th of February this year.
The 11th of February, okay. Well folks, you can see the wonderful growth in it already. And Rob, I know you were looking at this with the possibility of adding a pond here also.
Yeah.
Where are you thinking about?
Well, I don't know, but that spot right behind you that John's going to kill me for is looking quite nice as well. Directly behind you there, Michael, if you turn around. In amongst all the ragwort there. But when you look at the native species mix as well that the Stepstone Forest are composed of, there's loads of trees here now, like species. So like there's the alder, and then there's the birch that don't, and the willow obviously as well, that don't actually mind having very damp roots. So they tend to do quite well when a water feature goes in as well, because the water feature will obviously raise the humidity of the immediate area as well. So I think the fact that the Stepstone forests are already in, the pond will complement it, and then obviously the forest will benefit from the pond over time, as well as the area will retain the humidity a bit better. And then the fact when you can tie it in with something like this, a lovely mature hedge line, linear hedge line, or whatever you want to call it, like a linear feature of mature trees. It's lovely, like it really is nice, given that like you're literally up against the boundary wall of Tallaght Stadium, and right in the thick of it. It's a great spot, ideal location, and I guarantee you, people who don't have kids in the school won't even know it's here.
Well hidden.
Yeah, well hidden, but beautiful as well, you know.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Rob. Thanks for watching Wildlife Wednesday, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. For now, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.